All right, is that better? Hello everyone, we're going to try this again. I think I fixed it so that it will be the right direction for all of you. Let's see if it's looking good this time. Oh, there we go. It's looking better. Definitely looking better. All right, awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to go right in and get started. I thought it would be fun to jump on and just share a couple of projects with you since we have Thanksgiving coming up. It might be fun to share cards or different, leave little goodies on people's doorsteps because it may be looking like we all spend Thanksgiving with just our immediate family, right? So we're going to start by featuring the Gather Together stamp set. This is the one I'm using today. And it has a set of framelits or dies that go with it. And also, after this Facebook Live is done, you can go to my blog, which is myflutterbymoments.com, and you will be able to find this project sheet that has all your measurements and the supplies you need to make these cards and projects, okay? Today's first project is going to be this Happy Fall Y'all box, and in it has a little belly band that comes off, and inside of it is a Little Debbie pumpkin roll. I love these things. They're easy to package, and they're really good to eat. So this is, and they're cheap. Like you can get 8 of them or 6 of them in a box for $2. So that's really nice to there. Okay, so we are going to start by making this, and I'm just going to set this right up here. So to begin with, to make the box first, we are going to start with a piece of cardstock that is 6.5 by 7. Okay, it's not quite square, 6.5 by 7. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to need to score. So I'm going to start by scoring along, I'm just going to move that over there. I'm going to start by scoring along this is my 6.5 edge. So I'm going to start by scoring at 1 1/4. And on my cutter, I always move my scoring blades here at the top, and I always move my cutting blade down to the bottom so that I don't accidentally grab it. So we're starting by scoring at 1 1/4, and then 3, and then 4 1/4, and then 6. Once again, all these things will be on my blog, the description and the measurements and everything. And then we're going to flip the page 90 degrees, okay, like that. And we're going to score at 1 1/4, and then 5 3/4. Okay, so that's all the scoring we have today. Next, I'm just going to take and I'm going to fold all those score lines that I just made. And I'm going to use my bone folder just to make sure that I get a really good fold on each of those, a crisp fold along each of those. All right, got 2 more to go here. And our last one. Let's turn that along here. Okay. So before I finish up making my box, I do want to do some stamping. So I'm going to grab in this stamp set, there is a stamp that is this one right here. It looks like a bunch of specks. So I'm going to take that one and I'm going to just use some Versamark. Versamark is it's like a watermark ink. What it basically does is when you stamp with it, it just makes the image show up in the color of the cardstock. It's really cool. So I'm just going to take and randomly stamp this all over just to give this some texture on the cardstock. And I'm twisting, I turned the stamp in my hand so that when I stamp it, it looks like it's on there. It is a different direction a little bit. Okay. Just randomly stamp it however many times you want. Okay. And once you're done with that, we're going to, next we're going to do some cutting. Okay. So I'm going to flip it over so that I'm looking at the side that is not stamped. Okay. And I have a sample here. Where did my sample go? I had an example of what this was supposed to look like. Here it is. Okay, so if you can see for a minute, this orange piece, this is the exact same thing as what I have here. So as you can see, I went along and I cut all of these tabs on the score line up to the score line here. So I'm going to take it like this, and I'm just going to cut up to the score line there. Okay, on all of them. And then on this last one, you have just a little 1/2 inch tab. I'm not going to cut on that one, okay? I'm going to flip it around and do the same thing. I'm going to cut up to the score line on the score line. Okay, and then once again, I'm not cutting on this 1/2 tab because then I'm putting the 1/2 tab towards me, 1/2 inch tab, and I'm going to take and cut on this score line because we don't need this portion of the paper. So we're going to just cut that out to make our box. Okay. Alrighty. Next, we're going to put on some adhesive. So I'm flipping it back over so that I see the side that I stamped on. And I'm going to cut some little tabs here. So I'm going to turn it like this and cut my little tabs. Now, one thing really quick before I put my adhesive on. When I'm cutting my tabs, I kind of like to cut in at an angle just a little bit. It creates nicer corners for when you're putting your box together. So I'm just kind of cutting it at an angle a little bit and pulling those little pieces away. Flip it and do it on this side really quick. And I'm just doing it on the smaller tabs, not this center one. Okay. All right, we'll scoot all those out of our way. Okay, so now we're going to do our adhesive. So I'm just cutting a little bit of tear and tape, and I'm putting it along the side of that tab right there. And this tab right here, and do the same thing along the other side. We'll cut 2 things. So put some right here and put some right there. Okay. Now put some right there. Okay. I'm going to take and pull this tear and tape off. Sometimes when it's hard to get this tear and tape off, I like to take a pick tool, and if you can slide the pick tool, and usually it will pull off between the adhesive and the backing of that. Okay, so I took this, I'm just going to fold it up, and I'm tucking the tabs on the inside of this box like this, okay? Sorry, let me move into the frame. Okay, so I'm just taking and I'm tucking the tab on the inside of the box like that. I'll do the same thing on this side. Use my pick tool again. Pull that up. Okay. All right, so just pull that tab down and fold it onto the inside of your box. And there you go. Okay, so this has created our little box. And then last, this is like our little flap that's going to tuck into our box, right? And I'm going to just take and trim this off like this so that it just tucks in a little bit nicer. Okay? Alrighty. Now we need to make our belly band to go with it. Okay? and really quickly, because that lid is going to keep falling in, I'm actually going to put a pumpkin roll in it so that it will keep the lid from caving in while we do the rest of it. So stick that in there. There we go. Okay, now set that aside for just a minute. We're going to take the rest of our items. We have a piece of DSP here that is 3.5 by 7 3/4, and this is the side I want to show. So I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to run a bit of adhesive along this side at the bottom. And just make sure I did this right. And then so I did it at the bottom on the side I don't want, and then I'm going to flip it over and do it at the top on the side that I do want to show. Okay. And I totally recommend using a stronger adhesive like tear and tape, because if you use Snell, I guarantee it will not stay. It'll stay for the moment, but then you'll come back later and it'll be like, okay, so this next part is really official, you guys. I am going to simply take this piece of paper and I'm going to hold my box, and I'm just going to take and fold it around my box, okay? And I'm just taking along the edge, and oh, you know what? It's a little bit longer. I wonder if I cut that too long. You know what? We're going to just trim this really quickly and redo our tear and tape. Just going to trim a 1/2 inch off of this. Okay. All right. See, for all of those out there who think I do everything really well, I make mistakes too. Okay, I'm going to try this again. I'm going to put some tear and tape on the bottom there. Okay. All right, back to this. So I just took it, put it so that this is at the bottom. Yeah, so like I was saying, you just lay this down, and I'm just rubbing my finger along the edge there, rubbing it along the edge there, pulling this the other direction, and I'm making sure that my papers are lining up on the side, smoothing my thumb across it there and across it there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to pull the adhesive off on both sides of this. And the reason we're making sure, you want to make sure that you are gluing the DSP to the DSP and not gluing it to your box, because it creates a belly band. Sorry guys, my wireless just went out. It's been so slow lately. It's driving me crazy. Anyway, you want to connect the DSP to the DSP so that you can slide this off, okay? See how that will just, see, now it's not, yeah, there we go. It'll just slide off. That way they can eat the treat inside, but still keep the box nice. So we'll set that there for just a minute. We're gonna do our stamping next. So I have a scrap of Cajun Craze cardstock, and I'm going to stamp in Cajun Craze, and I'm just using the pumpkin, the single pumpkin in the stamp set. Just stamp it. Okay. And I'm going to also stamp my Happy Fall, y'all. Happy Fall, y'all, is actually not in this stamp set. It is in the Banner Year stamp set that is currently in our Fall Mini. Stamp that on there. Okay. Before I let go of this, I'm just going to flag the end of my, I like to just cut down the center, and then you go from corner to the top of that center cut, and that usually creates a pretty even flag for your flagging. Okay. And then, like I said, this has dies that go with it. So I'm going to bring my Big Shot into view here. For those of you who haven't seen, this is our brand new die cutting machine. It's called the Stampin' Emboss and Die Cutting Machine, I think is what the name of it is. It's really long. So over the weekend, one of my friends said that she was going to call it the Boss. So guess what? That's what I'm going to call it too. From now on, it's known as the Boss. So we're going to bring the Boss in. Can you guys even see that? Oh, there we go. You can see it now. So I'm going to bring this in and I'm just putting the framelit around the stamp. And I'm going to cover it up and roll it through. So nice, you guys. It's smoother than the old embossing, or the old die cutting machine we had. Okay, so there's my pumpkin. Get that out of the way. And I want my stem to be not orange. So I'm just taking a marker, an early espresso marker, and I'm going to color the stem in. And my marker seems to be dying on me. You guys, this is going down as the epic first Facebook Live in history. Okay, so we colored that in. Back to our box. And look at this. I stamped it the opposite direction of my first box. We'll chalk it up to nerves. Okay, I'm going to take my pumpkin and I'm going to take a couple of dimensionals and just put them on the back of my pumpkin. Okay. Peel those off. And I'm just going to set that here on this side. And then I'm going to put some dimensionals on the bottom of my saying. Okay, and pull those off. And then I'm just going to slide it so that the edge of that is just tucked underneath my pumpkin just a little bit. And then last, we have this copper ribbon, and it actually is kind of wiry like copper would be. And I'm going to, so this is how I make a bow. I'll show you. There's two ways to make a bow. You can take it like you're tying your shoelace. You make a loop, and then you go around the tree and through the hoop and pull your bow until you kind of have to keep pulling and fixing it until it goes tight and it's the way you like that. Okay, that creates a bow. Or the other way to do it is you create, and some people tie their shoes this way too. You create one loop here, you create another loop over here, right? And this piece is a little bit short for this method. But then you just take, let's see if I can go out further here. So loop and loop, you just take them and you cross them over one each other, bring one through, and then you pull it through and it creates a bow. Okay? I prefer this way, where it is. And this ribbon is kind of naughty. It doesn't like to behave. Because like I told you, it's kind of wiry. Okay. Almost got it. Get that where we want it to be. Oh my goodness. I've never had so many issues. Okay. We are going to call that good. That is like the ugliest bow ever. Okay, let's try that once again, you guys. I hope all my ladies are smiling, because you guys who come to my classes, you guys know that I don't mind tying bows, and here I am struggling with it. Okay, that's better. So I'm just going to call it good. Cut my ends off. Okay, and then I'm going to use a glue dot to put it on. Where is a glue dot? Here's a glue dot right here. Okay, I'm just going to use a glue dot to put this onto my pumpkin. Okay, and just go like this at the top, right about your stem, and voila, there you go. That's our first project, okay? All right, our next project is a card, which is going to be a little bit easier to do, in all honesty. Okay, let me just grab this here. Okay, so here's our card that we're going to be doing. It is also done with the same stamp set, Gather Together. Okay. Oh, look at the little hearts. Thank you. That makes me feel better. This is so nerve-wracking, you guys. I like get so worked up about it when I go on camera. I don't know what the deal is. But anyway, okay, I'm starting with a piece of cardstock mint macaron that is 5.5 by 8.5, and it's just been scored down the middle at 4 1/4. So I'm gonna take it, and I'm just gonna make sure I have a good crease there. Okay, you guys, like seriously, that must have not been the middle at all. Let's try this again. You guys are gonna fire me. I might fire myself. All right. There we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to take this DSP. It's cut at 2 inches by 5.5. And I'm just going to glue that onto the card. It's just about 1/4 of an inch off the bottom of the card, like that. Next, we're going to set that aside and we're going to stamp our little bundles of wheat. I don't know what it is about wheat, but I think it's so pretty. I love this image. So I need to stamp one in mint macaron. So I'm going to do that. Okay. And then I'm going to clean that stamp really quickly. And I'm going to stamp 2 of them in Early Espresso. Okay, so here's 1. And there's 2. All right, okay. After that, I'm going to sponge around these pieces. This is in honor of one of my really good friends who loves to distress everything that she touches. So I'm going to do this because I like how it creates a soft fill around the cardstock. It's not so harsh. Okay. And I'm just taking a sponge and I just tap it on the top of my ink pad. Thanks, Jennifer. She says I sound fine. Thank you, because really it is nerve-wracking. Okay, so now that I've sponged around all those edges, I'm going to put them onto my card. Now, whenever you're doing something in 3s or in whatever, odd numbers, it is always a good idea to start and you line everything up the way you want it to look, okay? So I'm going to just make sure this is how I want it to look. And then I always start by adhering down the outside ones, okay? Because you can judge the distance between the edge of the card and where this is at on each side to make it look similar. Actually, I think that needs to be up just a little bit. Okay, like that. So then I'm going to do this side. All right. And just make sure that that's about even and straight. And then the great thing about this now, I can just take this and I center it between the 2 that I have already put on here. And that's how you make it so that it looks good. Because if I had started from one end, I might have gotten these too close and this one too far and had too much space. So I always recommend you start with the outside ones and go in from there. Okay. Now we have this piece, and this is 3/4 by 4 inches, and I'm going to take and use a new punch that we have. So how many of you have this punch? This is our, it flags big pieces of cardstock, so like 2 inches, 1/2 inch, and 1 inch are the sizes that it flags. Well, in our holiday, they came out with a mini one, meaning it flags smaller pieces, and it will do both ways. It'll flag in and it'll flag out, which is really cool. So I'm going to take this piece and open up my punch and I'm just going to slide it in. So it's 3/4 of an inch. I'm just sliding in until it stops. Punch down, and then I pull it out, and that creates a perfect flag. So that is a really cool tool to have. I'm going to take and adhere this to my card. Okay. Next, I'm going to take, this is a little piece that is a 1/2 inch by 2.5 inches. And I'm going to stamp my saying, which says, wishing you well. This is like really appropriate. Sorry, I'm going to pull it closer here so I can actually line it up correctly. Oh, it's a little bit crooked. We're going to try again. It's because it's hard to stamp on camera. Because I'm trying to keep it where you can see it, and yet I'm trying to... There we go. That's better. Okay. Wishing you well. And I used some dimensionals to pop this up. Okay, so we'll just take and put one here and one on this side. Pull those off. Okay. We'll center that right here on the edge. Okay. Okay. And then we're going to finish the card with two things. We have these gold enamel dots that we're going to use. So I'm just going to take and pull one off and put it right there. And then take some of the smaller, they come in 3 or 4 different sizes. So I'm going to put one right there and put one right here at the edge. Like that. Okay, so there's that. And then last but not least, you see there's a bow. So I ran out of that copper ribbon. So instead, I'm going to use this braided linen trim that we have because it will work just as nicely. So we'll see how easy this works as a bow compared to that other stuff. The copper stuff really is kind of hard to work with. This stuff is much nicer. See how easy that was? Okay, fix my bow the way I want. Cut my edges here. Then I'm going to use my glue dots. Where did they go? Here they are. Okay. All right, so really quickly, just because this is my first time doing this, and I'm just curious, does the screen look blurry? Wait, before I say this, I'm going to put this right here. See, I'm going to finish it like that. So my question for you guys is, does the screen look blurry to you? Because on my computer that I'm watching, it does look blurry. So I'm just curious if that's what you guys are seeing. So if you want to make a comment and tell me whether or not it looks blurry to you, I would love that, because then it can help me to know if I need to change things or not. And then here are our 2 finished cards. And like I said before, if you go to my blog post, the blog post is not up yet. It will be up in just a little bit. But if you go to my blog post, you will find the project instructions on it. Okay, so that you can make both of these if you want to. And anything else? I'm just trying to look and see if there's any. It's so weird that it's okay. Anyway, thank you all for coming to watch. I so appreciate it. My goal is to do this once a week, so hold me to it. Ask me when the next one is, and hopefully we can have some fun stamping together. Thanks, guys, and have a great day. Bye-bye.